Good evening, everyone. I'm calling the Southborough School Committee meeting to order on December 10th at 6:30 p.m. All committee members are present, so thank you very much for joining. And first order of business is public comment. If anybody in the public has anything you want to say, feel free to raise your hand. All right, no takers on that. So we will move on to new business and principals report. So,
great.
Hi,
Thanks.
Gary. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
And we have Todd here as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yep. Todd's going to help me out with the principals update. So just a reminder, November we did not provide a principals update, so we thought it would be best to kind of keep that information, and then we'll probably kind of catch up in January with December and January updates, if that's okay.
Perfect.
So the first one is from Principal Ryan Finn. So photo 1. Finn students shared heartfelt appreciation for our nation's heroes by creating thoughtful Veterans Day letters and drawings filled with gratitude, color, and love. The first photo shows some of the work first graders in Miss Perry's class wrote to our service members and veterans. Students wrote touching messages thanking veterans for their bravery, service, and sacrifice. Their handmade cards feature bright flowers, American flags, and soldiers in uniform, alongside words such as, "You are a hero," and "Happy Veterans Day." These expressions of kindness and respect came after teachers taught units on Veterans Day and its significance. The second photo is from the last week where Finn students rolled up their sleeves for a hands-on pumpkin exploration. Using real pumpkins as their lab materials, students weighed, measured, and examined various pumpkin size, predicting, counting, and recording data as true young scientists. They cut open and investigated the insides, separating seeds and exploring textures. This engaging activity blended math, science, and seasonal fun, giving students the perfect opportunity to learn through observation, teamwork, and a little bit of messy discovery. And the third and final photo is of the Finn School's annual Rainbow Raiser, a fundraiser celebration. Finn's SOS raised an incredible $24,000. And to mark this amazing accomplishment, the entire school came together for a high-energy dance party led by DJ Mike. The Finn gym was transformed by Finn parents into a glowing sea of color as students dressed in colored, I gotta see this for myself actually. As students dressed in colored team shirts, waved light sticks, cheered, and danced under the flashing lights and confetti. The energy was electric, the smiles were endless, and Mr. Ryan danced with students dressed up as a unicorn.
Is there a picture of that?
So that's Finn. On to Woodward for Mr. Mucci. So in grade 3, module 1 of Wit and Wisdom, students dive into the topic of the sea, exploring how it inspires curiosity, creativity, and discovery. Through rich texts like Manfish, a story of Jacques Cousteau, students learned about Cousteau's life, his passion for exploring the ocean, and how his curiosity led to important discoveries. As a culminating writing task, students wrote an informative piece about Jacques Cousteau, explaining how his curiosity and determination helped him make a lasting impact on the world. And pictured here are some of those writing pieces. The second photo, Woodward would like to recognize and express a huge thank you to the amazing SOS team, parent volunteers, and the entire Woodward community for making this year's Color Run fundraiser a wonderful success. Thanks to their generosity and enthusiasm, Woodward surpassed their goal of $20,000 and raised $23,000. The Color Run was a perfect way to celebrate a joyful event filled with color, laughter, and school spirit. And the last photo, third graders from Mrs. Hannaberry's class had a wonderful visit to the Southborough Senior Center this week, where they sang a selection of patriotic songs in honor of Veterans Day. The students were so proud to share their voices with gratitude and with local veterans and community members. A special thank you to Mrs. Gies, the Woodward music teacher, for her leadership and for helping students prepare such a meaningful and heartfelt performance.
And on the NERI front, in the spirit of belongingness in the season of giving, NERI School is proud to partner with the Bay Path Humane Society of Hopkinton for a special donation drive to support animals in need. 2 team members from the shelter, Michelle Kalin and Kathleen Plechko, joined NERI's whole school meeting on Monday to teach students about the society and the ways to get care for many dogs and cats that reside there. From November 10th to the 21st, students were invited to bring in items to help care for the animals at this incredible shelter. All donated items were collected at NERI and were delivered to the society to support the mission of care for animals in need. The second photo is NERI Color Games. The first ever NERI Color Games was held on October 16th. And again, thank you to SOS for their ongoing support and effort. Through their efforts, our students and families and friends have surpassed the $20,000 mark. The day was bursting with energy, laughter, and NERI pride, which is a true reflection of the special community that they have at NERI. Contributions make a real difference by funding enrichment programs, field trips, classroom materials, school-wide initiatives, and they help NERI students learn and grow. And then lastly is the candy collection. Since 2024, NERI students have collected Halloween candy to share with others, sending it to soldiers stationed around the world, donating it to local food pantries, and in recent years supporting the local organization Rise Above. This year, the tradition returns to sending candy to U.S. soldiers, including several former NERI students. Keith, you'll remember some of these names. Rick Scott, commanding officer of the U.S. Coast Guard Earl Cunningham in Alaska. Evangelos Baltus and his wife, both in the Navy. Drew McNamara, stationed in Europe. And U.S. Marine Captain Jack McLaughlin in San Diego. Candy donations were collected last week, and students brought in pre-prepared candy packages to place in boxes. They were mailed out the past week. Each year, students eagerly participate in this meaningful tradition. A big thank you to Mrs. Turio for leading this for the past 21 years. Right. And on the Trotter front, a couple updates. So the first picture is a program we have called here Trotter Spotlight. I also want to thank Ms. Newman for helping us out. This is a 7th grade elective that Mrs. Allenson runs for students, and they work in the SAM studio. And so there's about a dozen students who work weekly there. They learn how to run the camera, teleprompters, write scripts, there's producers. And it just started with a small idea, and they invited me in. They conducted an interview. I was so thoroughly impressed. Some of their questions were about our core values, how they were developed, whether or not I had a role, and how important they in developing them, and how meaningful it is. Since my interview, I know they've interviewed our school resource officer, our school nurse. I think it's been a wonderful start to this work. It started with a small idea, and it keeps on growing. We also have another group that's doing, more of like a news broadcast, with things that are taking place in the school. And the problem actually right now is kind of keeping up with the episodes. They keep on dropping. They're like, hey, Mr. Hirschek, we have a new episode each week. So they're very creative, but I do think it's a great showcase for our students' talents. And I also think pulling back the, some of our teachers' stories and how they got into education and their work has been very important for our school culture. Our second picture is that we completed our annual Washington D.C. trip, and I want to thank you for the approval for next year's trip as well. I think every year is presented with a new challenge, whether it's an impending election or a government shutdown. I think our tour company, our students, and our families are very flexible and adjust very well. Very impressed. Our tour company made some nice changes to their itinerary. There were 2 things that we did miss this year. One was the African American Museum, and the second was access to the Capitol. Those are mainstays which we have to return. But as a result of that, we made some additions to the itinerary. And now we have some tough choices moving forward because some of the additions that we put on there were really very favorable. So, the Spy Museum, for example, we had never done that. The feedback from students and staff was very positive. So we'll work on shaping that itinerary for next year. And then lastly, kind of in spirit with what we've just heard about service, is when for students who did not attend the DC trip, they did go to the Heritage Museum in Hudson. And on the second day, there was a day of service. Mr. Kittleson was part of this, many 8th grade teachers, and one of the things that they ended up doing is making some chili. And what was the dessert, Todd?
Apple crisp.
Apple crisp, Todd, a lot of that. And they ended up, sorry, I have to take one shot at Todd a day, and I did not see him today. But one of the nice things about it is they kept that local, and they brought the food to the public safety building here in Southborough. So very proud of those efforts and that continuation. So.
Great. Anybody have any comments or questions? Updates? A lot of great community events going on for all the schools, so that's always great to see. And thank you to all the SOSs who organize all those events. I know they're a lot of work, and but I know the kids love those. You know, see Mr. Ryan in a uniform.
Yeah, we have to ask him to bring that for the next year.
Yeah. That's great.
Actually,
Go ahead.
So it's interesting, I don't recall the specifics of last year, but it's interesting that through all of the schools this time of year, color was really a pretty significant characteristic.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's annually the same way, but it really struck me as a lot of color, from all the different schools and some of the things they did.
Yeah. The kids respond to it very well. Like, the color run, that seems to be a popular thing now where, it's not just fun enough to run, like to add some some color to it. I think build some excitement for students. So, yeah. All right.
Next is the Trotter Middle School's school improvement plan. And thank you for letting us kick this to this meeting. I know we were scheduled to do this last month.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. So I know Ms. Valenti, Mr. Ryan, and Mr. Mucci had talked about kind of the principles of our school improvement plan, and of all of our school improvement plans, in being linked to our strategic plan. The goal which the central office has provided has really been instrumental, and that's similar for Trotter. So I'm going to kind of maybe move a little bit quicker through that. But the one thing that is really important for our school improvement plan, and I think what you'll see, is I'm reminded of the Portrait of a Graduate and the role that we play in this work. When our students graduate from Algonquin, these are the skills, the attributes, and the characteristics we want all of our students to leave this district with. I think they're relevant, meaningful, and attainable. And I think about, as my role as principal here and our role as educators, I think about what we have to do in order to kind of pass that baton for our students, from the middle school to the high school. And I think about if you were to walk through our school on any given day, and you see some of these attributes of critical and creative thinking, communication, collaboration, just the civic and social engagement, you would see these taking place on a daily basis. And I think that's very important. And so our goals are really entrenched to help support that work as well. And again, the strategic objectives, which we've all heard over and over, our goals are linked to those strategic objectives as well. One of the other things I want to also, kind of talk about, I think, is that the way our school improvement plan is designed and linked to our, strategic objectives, one of the great byproducts of this work has really been the collaboration that has been, that needs to take place. I think my collaboration with the elementary schools has been the strongest it's ever been, and my collaboration with Milliken is also ongoing and consistent, because we know that both our middle schools are feeding into high school, and having a level of consistency is really important. So if you were to look at the Trotter Middle School school improvement plan and the Milliken school improvement plan, you would definitely see some overlaps and consistency. And I know, as from my work, it's been very beneficial and helps, and has really expanded my lens as well. So. And I think one of the things that is important is to look at our demographics, and I think if you look at our enrollments, who our students are, the shifting demographics, I think this speaks to some of the needs in some of the focus areas that we've had within our school improvement plan and our action steps. I think when We look at this annually as a faculty, and we know if we look back at the data from 10 years ago, our student population has it looks different from 10 years ago, and our needs of our students are different as well. So with that being said, our first goal is empowering all learners, and I'm pleased to share that this ongoing work continues to focus on high quality instruction, data-driven collaboration and inclusive practices, as well as student wellness. Our staff remains deeply committed to ensuring every learner is challenged, supported, and connected to our school community. One of the big drivers of our action step is our ongoing work with our curriculum. And so we are currently in year 3 of our Carnegie Math curriculum. One of the action steps this year is to really work to develop some common assessments to track student progress. So common assessments within our teachers. We're also working with Melican to develop some common assessments. I think one of the things that we feel is that using that data and to make some informed decisions about our curriculum, our teaching practices, and student performance is critical. And having that shared experience between the 2 schools is really been essential. Our teams have been working very hard at that, and I also think it's very beneficial to look at student work. I think when we look at our assessment work, see how students are performing, which areas are stronger, which areas need improvement, that impacts instruction, that impacts a lot of decision making as well. For our ELA department, this is the 2nd year of the EL curriculum. It's been a huge undertaking, but our team is doing extremely well. I think they're feeling more grounded, they're feeling more confident. I think they have the vision of where the long-term planning and learning is going, and having that first year under the belt is helping with pacing, command of the content, understanding the dynamics, making adjustments as needed. The goal this year is to complete Module 3 for all students and to continue to keep on moving forward throughout this. With science, very excited. Again, another highlight is collaboration with Melican. We've had teachers in our 6th grade and our 8th grade pilot 2 new curricula, Amplify and Open SciEd. They are, in both have tremendous attributes. They are working with Melican to look at high leverage patterns and to make a decision about a new curriculum moving forward. Our teachers have jumped in feet first. They have been working incredibly hard in piloting this. A pilot's kind of challenging. They have to kind of offboard from their curriculum, take on a new unit, adjust their teaching practices, and reflect on the effectiveness, and then go from one to the next. So I really want to compliment our science department and the work that they've done. Our world language program has also done a nice job. They have made a transition with their 6th grade curriculum. I know I shared this last year, but as a reminder, for years we used to do an exploratory course in 6th grade where for half a year students would take French, and for the second half of the year they would take Spanish or vice versa. They wanted to increase the language exposure, so we did ask NEARI families and students to make a language decision 5th grade to 6th grade. So essentially we have increased their language exposure in a year within that 6th grade. I think that's important because, as you know, with our Spanish exposure, Spanish curriculum at the elementary level, as that's coming up to NEARI, our students are going to be more prepared. Very excited about that and the long-term benefits. As I talked about our role at the middle school, that language shift is really going to help with that extension at the high school, because if students are exposed to Spanish starting in K or 1, and then we can continue that momentum through the middle school, handing them off to the high school with that level of exposure is exciting. And I can't imagine if my son or daughter was graduating from Algonquin and being proficient and potentially proficient in Spanish in preparation for career readiness or college bound.
Can I just ask a question about
Sure.
that? So this will be the last class coming in next year that won't have been exposed to Spanish, but the year after that, they will have had 3 years, I think it's 3 years of Spanish. So how are we going to handle, and this may be more of a question for you, Stephanie, how are we going to handle the distinction between Spanish and French if we've had kids, that have 3 to 6 years of Spanish exposure? Or like, how are we going to handle the French component, and are we anticipating a larger volume of students picking Spanish just because they've had it for several years?
Great questions.
Yeah.
I'll start and then
Sure.
feel free to jump in. This is something that we have been talking about both as administrators, but also with our world language teacher leaders, which includes our elementary teachers, and then also Jeff Drake, who is the teacher leader in the world language department here at Trotter, and includes the high school department. We would anticipate that there may be some increase in the kids who go to Spanish, but we also have been, and we have not finalized plans, but we have been talking about the potential for having an exploratory experience in 5th grade, where we could actually show students how learning one Romance language can help you with another Romance language, and so potentially in 5th grade, give them part of the year in French, part of the year in Spanish, where we know exactly what they've learned in Spanish, and we're going to show them how that translates to French, and really show them that it is still a very viable pathway to choose to take French in the middle school. So that is one concrete thing that we've been discussing, and sort of, it's again not a hard and fast plan, but it is something we've been discussing. The other thing that I will say is our French program at Trotter is incredibly strong, incredibly popular, and I do think that that will really help us to maintain that program as well.
Okay.
So we in no way want this to weaken our French program. There is the potential for it to, attract more kids to Spanish, but we're actually really thinking about how we can combat that and keep Spanish as a really viable path. French is a viable path.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the team recognized that, and we're working on how to promote and maintain the French program, because it is well loved here at Trotter, and and I think it's been an important outlet, and if the numbers do increase, our French teacher also can teach Spanish, so that we also have that as the potential as well in terms of staff.
But I think as a complement to the world language department here, when kids go up and they start in a 2nd year, rather than take French 1, you're taking French 2 as 9th graders, it's very complementary to your world language.
Yeah, I will share that.
Spanish too, but it's true.
It's really important. It gives students, you don't necessarily think about it, but the flexibility that it gives a high school student is really important. When they have to start making some challenging choices in terms of everything. They want to do everything, but they can't. So I think that is important. So yeah, and I also think too, it also instills kind of like a love of the subject matter as well. It's not some of these kids are not going to continue this on in college, but they take it because they really enjoy it and they've had very positive experiences. Yeah. The other thing I was very proud of is that we do have a small cohort of students every year that for a variety of reasons have not had language exposure, whether or not they had maybe higher services in 6th grade, or we've had students transfer from different districts, and so sometimes they come to us and it's like they have not been exposed to language. So the department did a wonderful job, and they said, can we just offer a foundational Spanish class? And it's kind of like a hybrid of both. It's a hybrid of, it could be a hybrid of all 3 years. It's a small group, but it's important to give that exposure. So this is the first year we're running it, and so potentially we could see that could, I don't know if they would have the option to get into that Spanish too, but at least giving that level of preparation for the high school. So I think it's been important, because for years we didn't have that, and sometimes we had a child in Spanish, in 8th grade, and they just were behind. So I think I really credit the World Language Department for creating that. So.
Does Northborough have a similar program? Like, if you're entering Spanish 2 as a freshman, is it the same for Northborough, or is it?
So, Steph, do you want to speak?
When
North
you're
Coast
asking similar program, do you mean at the middle school level or elementary level or
I
both?
suppose both.
So there are differences. We do work together in these committees when I'm referring to the leadership committee. And so we're working to try to have, equity in that respect of opportunity. Right now, there's no elementary language program in Northborough, although the school committee has had it as a priority in some years. It's not been something that we've been able to start. At the middle school level, they have not yet made the shift that Gary was just talking about of 6th grade. This year is still an exploratory program, but next year they are going to make that shift for another year of language, a proficiency-based language class.
But without the elementary kind of feeding into it.
Without the elementary feeding into it. So there's lots of interest to get the elementary program going. It's a very different undertaking in Northborough because of the organization of the schools. The way we were able to phase it up here is much more complicated working across, it will, quite frankly, more expensive working across 4 schools. So we're not there yet.
Yeah.
It is something we're working on.
Other action steps under this domain is we're also looking at our master schedule to see how we can maximize that. One of the considerations is, if we can add win blocks, those, that stands for what I need. I think, for some students might need some added interventions and some flexibility. But a master schedule is very complicated. It's a moving target. We have an ongoing committee that's trying to preserve the things that we do well and also looking for opportunities to support students as we go. Another piece of this is, I'm sure you probably heard, is our ongoing use of analytic view. I think that dashboard has been highly successful. I think one of the things that has been great about it is that it's very user-friendly. And teachers have been using that to review MCAS data, look at our DIBELS data, look at attendance, look at our SABIS data, and I know Stephanie and the team continue to add more and more student data for us to analyze in order to continue our work. One of our goals is to take our own curriculum assessments and to start putting some of that data in analytic view. And then lastly, really to try to, we always want to bring it back to the instructional core and start, looking at our teaching practices. So we've had a heavy focus on the instructional core, emphasizing high quality instructional approaches in our UDL work as well. One of the things that I'm probably most excited about this year is under goal 3 is, our continuing work to cultivate inclusive classrooms and also fostering a whole school community and to promote our students' sense of belonging. So Todd and I have worked with the faculty to kind of launch what we've called a belonging roadmap for the year, and we've kind of created like 5 or 6 buckets to help develop that spirit of community and belonging. One of the things that we did is that last year we conducted a school culture survey. We used that school culture survey as in elements of that school culture survey talked about the classroom experience and also talked about the school-wide experience. Very proud of the responses from the school culture survey. I think it reinforced a lot of the work, reinforced some of the good work we're doing, but also, kind of shed some, areas where we can improve. So we've been using that. One of the things that we've been working on is revising our PACE award. The PACE award goes back to, I don't know, Keith, 30 years. So it's a tradition that's been here in Southborough. PACE stands for positive effort, and positive attitude and consistent effort. And I think one of the things that we've done, we talk about at the beginning of the year, we recognize students at the end of the year, but we haven't done a great job in the middle of the year. And so this started with a small idea of just trying to make PACE more visible to students, to make those attributes more meaningful. So we've kind of taken on a theme, Pace Yourself. We encourage students to pace yourself. You're going to start seeing those messages around the school. Our faculty, met about a month ago, and we just started identifying students we thought were already pacing themselves early in the fall. And so the goal will be to, one of two ways. Our teams might be recognize them at a small, and when they have some team time together. Todd and I have the ability to meet with these kids and say, really just want to thank you for pacing yourselves. Mrs. Scorzelli and our in the office came up with a great idea to create these wonderful magnets to kind of to allow those students to start putting in their locker. But it's really to highlight, their attributes in their ongoing work. The other piece we're working on is community conversations. Every now and again, we need to do a reset with our students. And our community conversations can kind of go into a couple different directions. And some, our students are being faced with a lot of challenging social dynamics more and more, whether it's social media, navigating, issues of race and acceptance and inclusion and diversity. And sometimes we meet those challenges very well, and sometimes we fall short on that. So we have found that it's very important for us to bring our students together and talk about those topics. So this year already, we met with all 3 grades. We had a conversation called Words Matter. We talked about how sometimes what students say can be impactful. And we did explore issues of race. We did explore issues of identity. I want to thank Mr. Kilson, who was one of the architects of these conversations, as well as our counseling team. We also had a conversation about social media with our 8th grade in preparation for the DC trip. Our SRO, Officer Collins, had participated in that. But beyond that, we also want to have conversations that celebrate community and have more. And it always doesn't have to be the harder hitting topics, but it also can be about inclusion and celebratory topics. So we have plans on having topics about our core values. We were going to have a topic about goal setting. We were going to have a discussion about neurodiversity, and there are going to be other topics along the way. The other piece is recognition and belonging through visibility. And so, as I shared with our first announcement, is that recognition through the Trotter Your TV and our work through the SAM studio. It started with a very small idea. I brought it to the kids and the advisors, and they've taken off and run with it. And any idea that they've come up has been 10 times better than my idea. The enthusiasm, the passion, the exposure, the recognition of others, I think, is very important. One of the things I'm really enjoying is we also launched an initiative called Teach to Teach, in which we allow students to sign up to teach a teacher a passion, a hobby, or one of their interests. And so, I know, to date, we've had 34 students sign up. I have personally received lessons in fantasy football. And I will say the recommendation I got for my weekly lineup didn't work out well. I made some guacamole, which I will use I've been using this recipe. I've also had a lesson in Civil War reenactment. But beyond that, our students have given instruction in horseback riding, how to make pot holders, the Rubik's Cube, Legos. We have badminton. Students have taught Hindi. We've had numerous dances being taught. So right now, it's been probably one of the more enjoyable experiences I've had thus far. So our goal is to complete our 41st, Teach to Teach, make sure those are complete, and then launch in the new year for another session. It's really, students have been, they're really just amazing. They really are. And I think it gives us, I had a teacher recently say that I did a Teach to Teach with a student. I only knew them kind of on the periphery. Now the student gives me a hug every day. So it's been really impactful, and I'm really excited about that. The other piece is, I think, that we are going to be working on is our cultural and global awareness. One of the things that we are going to be doing come this spring is that we are going to recognize, kind of the cultural history through Trotter. Just looking, going back through our ELD program, we know that just in the ELD program alone, we've had 30 students representing 34 different countries. I think this year we'll probably add another 10. So just historically, we've had 44 nations represented in our ELD program. That doesn't capture the school-wide community. So the goal will be to have a flag that represents the history of every student that's gone through the program. And then we will also have a mechanism for flags to be added moving forward. And it will be, the goal will be our students are going to be part of this. For every flag that's going to be moving forward, it would be great to have a student kind of share their testimonial, kind of share the importance of the flag and have that representation. And so that will be kind of, we would like to have a celebration in the spring. And then as a result of some of this work, there is a goal to bring back our multicultural fair, which we have not had in a very long time. So, so this is one of the things that I think it's been very galvanizing for us as a faculty. It's built our connections with students, and I'm really proud of the work. And I will turn it over to Mr. Kittleson for the last.
Quick question.
Oh yes, sir.
Aaron, if you have a student that can teach me how to solve the Rubik's Cube, I'd appreciate maybe getting connected.
Roger, they're solving it in like 15 seconds. Like I'm not even.
I'd accept 3 days.
Yeah. So Roger, I thought you would be more with me on the Civil War reenactment. So when the spring comes, maybe we could do some maneuvers out on the field together.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You want a goal that's achievable.
Yeah, but and I would encourage, what I do love about it is some of the teachers who've signed up, the students don't know, and it doesn't matter. They are so happy and proud to show what they know. And the young lady who did the guacamole recipe, she really could have her own cooking show. There was 4 of us, and she wasn't looking at the bowl. She was looking at us, and she was like walking through, and she was amazing. Yeah. So
My first teacher's next Tuesday. I'm going to learn more about Star Wars.
Oh, perfect.
So our last goal for healthy and balanced learners: integrate health and wellness consistently within multiple school settings. First and foremost, beyond a PE classroom, where a lot of our students receive that direct instruction. We have opportunities much beyond that. After school sports and clubs, we had our fun run a few months ago. During the time where we had 8th grade go to DC, we had the day of service. Students are able to walk the campus, walk near East campus, and walk a little beyond in all directions, pick up trash. A lot of movement, a lot of great ways to get active. This slide prior, we have our therapeutic dog, Riley, who helps in a therapeutic classroom. Many students appreciate the relaxingness and the fun that the animal brings. But we also have a variety of other ways that students are able to kind of express themselves and also keep their bodies active and physical. We have our SEL courses that we're going through that promotes health, regulation, good decision making with food, and taking care of your body. Our health teacher does a great job, I think, not only going over what's required to be healthy, but also what is going to limit you if you make some not so great choices in your future as well. Our Metro West Health Survey was just administered, 2 weeks ago, give or take. So that data will come back in a handful of months. It'll capture a lot of the pieces regarding not academics, but social pieces, how you feel at school, what makes you belong in school, healthy interactions outside of school. So there's a lot of things beyond a typical PE class that happen on a regular basis that we can intake, monitor, and adapt as need be for our students. So we're proud to have all those pieces in Trotter.
So in closing, I hope our action plans, our action steps in our school improvement plan kind of capture, the essence of middle school. I think it's important, in terms of our instructional core, what our students are learning, our focus on, high quality instruction, and, the gains in math and English and science, and, but also within that, is for our middle schoolers developmentally is that social component, understanding who they are, understanding the world around them. And I feel like, you know, we're trying to have that balance between academics and social, because, you know, really, if students do not want, if they don't have that social connection, it impacts that academic growth as well. So I'll open up to any questions.
I think this is probably a broader district issue, but for like artificial intelligence and preparing students, or at least setting guidelines on what the expectations are for students, I think as you're looking at sort of a school improvement plan and just looking at the executive summary of, you know, what the goals are, I think leaving that out, to me, I would expect something in there about it. And I know, again, it's a you know, we're grappling with this as an entire district.
Right.
But if we're going through the process of trying to figure out what that looks like, especially at such a critical age, I think, as middle schoolers, it feels like there needs to be some effort put in, not to necessarily define that right away, but at least have some sort of action plan to, you know, how that is handled in the classroom.
I think that's important. You know, I think our teachers are asking for it. I think we've talked about it at central office. I think, and Alan, I think you hit the nail on the head, because it's so evolving. You know, that, you know, we did not. At that time, it would be challenging to put it in, because I don't know how we would have approached it at that time. Not to say it's not important to. We are grappling with it, you know, and how to put the guardrails up against it, but also the other piece is how can kids use it effectively and in an acceptable way. And balancing that for middle schoolers is incredibly challenging,
Right.
because you don't want, you know, to give that message, hey, AI is, you know, a tool that you can use. You want to make sure that they're using it in a way that's acceptable, and it's, you know, not violating academic honesty, but, you know, but in a way that's helping to extend their learning and help extend their creativity.
Yeah, you know, and
I can add a little bit of district context if it's helpful too.
Sure.
I think to Gary's point, like there are things that are happening. It's a little bit still in the background, I would say, at this level. We've had professional development sessions at the last 2 years worth of district professional development days. There have been offerings for teachers at our administrator level. It has definitely been an ongoing conversation. The high school has had it in their improvement plan, and so they have been doing more direct work with it. At the places I think you're going to see it in the near future for us, and then you'll start seeing it in school improvement plans, is that I would expect that it will be in our reauthorized strategic plan much more directly.
Yeah.
And the instructional tech and informational tech department is working on a 5-year tech plan, and it is squarely in there as well. And Kathy Carmignani, who is our Director of Instructional Technology and Science, is already working with the instructional technology specialists, one of which is at Trotter. They are in the midst of reading some books about artificial intelligence. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education just hosted a series of webinars. They put out some online courses from DESE, which we have shared with teachers as a resource. So we're sort of in this phase right now of, and I know from a school committee perspective, I think it's going to be a policy question. So I feel like we're in a little bit of a phase right now of a lot of learning, a lot of conversations, and figuring out where to put it in these plans. But teachers are working on it and learning about it. It just has not, we have not formed it into like a strategic, like we're, you know, on the improvement, but it's coming.
It's going to be challenging, right? Because I mean, like a 5-year plan is going to, I mean, it's hard to plan for it. The pace at which it's changing is going to be hard to do anything more than a 1-year plan, right, for it at this point. So I guess I should say, I said in the classroom, but I think it actually applies to also, I think it has a big impact on sort of the extension of social media. I mean, I think there's been, sad examples of sort of, people's relationships with AI. And I think that, so it's I think not only setting a policy for how it is utilized in the schools, but actually there's probably a role for schools if we're going to extend out to social medias to help students understand what AI actually is and how it works with the most common sort of
Alan, I think it's a really
people are using.
really good topic to bring up. I mean, not only is it evolving, but I think it's can be pervasive, right? I mean, it is.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
the importance of addressing it is significant.
Yeah, it has to be like, how do you work with it, right? I mean, it's just,
Absolutely.
if you're going to prepare students for a future, I think it's, obviously you want to maintain academic integrity, but unfortunately the big challenge is going to have to be, well, how do you change the way assignments are, you can't really just assign an essay anymore, really, right? Because it's just, they'll be done in 5 seconds. Obviously you can set the guardrails up to not do it, but students are going to find a way around those sort of checks and balances. So I don't envy the challenge, but I think it's something that we need to.
And teachers are already doing that work,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of professional development we've been doing.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned, even our students are navigating AI and determining what is authentic and what is not authentic. Where they're seeing a commercial with Abraham Lincoln, and students, in the way it's presented, a student believes that was the primary source, but it is not. And so in our health classes, we've already, part of the lesson is social media, and part of the lesson is kind of media sources. I think this will probably be another layer to that. Our students they're just learning this, and they're very impressionable, and it's going to be challenging for them to determine that. So I think it's a valid point.
It's really important.
Any other questions on the school committee? Thank you very much for
Oh, you're welcome.
the presentation.
My pleasure.
Gary,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move on to old business. The Neary and Finn Environmental Evaluation Action Plans. Keith, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, so I think as part of our ongoing commitment, obviously in prior months, we did a lot of work over the summer, produced a report in the early fall, and working closely with our custodian teams and Brian Pantoni, trying to fine tune some of that. We also tried to get more information on some of the recommendations that were put forth with those plans. So it's ongoing work. I think as seasons turn, our challenges changes and get adjusted. So that's something we're very much paying attention to, and I think the report, was able to inform us pretty well, and we'll be able to, keep the ongoing updates going. And certainly as the season changes, like I said, we're going to have, more tasks to take care of. So that's what we're going to do for that piece.
All right, great.
But you had some questions about the other items, the well monitoring and
Yeah,
site
so
work?
the well monitoring, I actually have an update on. So the groundwater sampling wells that were established at the this is at the Neary site.
Neary site, yeah.
That were established at the post-closure monitoring time are the same as what were implemented initially. And just so you know, if you see this, MW equals groundwater monitoring wells. That's the acronym. And then the soil gas probes, which are SPs, a few have been lost and are being reestablished with PAR and DPW. So that is the current update of the monitoring pieces at the Neary site. So I would like that the school committee request that the select board follow up to make sure that the monitoring wells get reestablished, and also work with DPW on any additional recommendations that they have for any additional testing or site-specific spots on that site that need to be added.
Would it be inappropriate if we authorized you as the chair to move the select board in that direction?
Sure.
I'm not sure exactly how that would be done, but
I think if
I
we're
think
all
that's
in,
very important.
I think if we all have consensus that that's where we want to go, then I'm happy to talk to the select board about that.
Do we need a motion, or do we
Sure.
just?
Unless there's anybody has any objection to that. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So I'd like to move that we authorize the school committee chair to communicate with the select board to move this process forward with these wells. Because if we don't move it forward, we're going to, I'm not sure I've stated the motion very eloquently, but if we don't move it forward, we're going to go nowhere. And we must make progress there.
Okay. Is there a second? Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay, 5-0. Thank you.
Chelsea, I have a question. Has
Yes.
this been forwarded to the Board of Selectmen? This
That report?
Mhm.
No, but I can.
I think it would be a useful
Sure.
tool that they would be
Yep.
able to benefit from.
Yeah. And just one follow-up for you.
Mhm.
All the mold that was identified in those reports from the fall have been remediated?
100%.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
All right, and then the next one is quotes for site work at Finn School. So as part of the report and analysis that was done, there's some concern around the structure, specifically related to when the addition was done in 2000 at the Finn School. Wondering if we should be looking to get a quote for how much that would cost to remediate the issues at Finn.
Why wouldn't we want to do that?
That's why I put it on the agenda. I mean, I think it makes sense to look at it. I don't know where that's going to fit in the overall capital plan of what all the list of things that we need to do, but I think we need to know what we're dealing with.
I think it's pretty important to do that.
Otherwise, we're going to continue to have mold at Finn. And really trying to get rid of mold.
Just, can I just add a comment?
Yes.
So part of the work that we've done, and obviously this has been accelerated in the last couple of years, is really looking at what are the moisture sources at the Finn School. And certainly we've identified really two things that are occurring. One, we are getting infiltration from the ground, which is in direct comment to what you're referring to, and that source properly. So yes, it's worth a deeper investigation.
So is that really more the description of what we need to do? Is what is requested? We find out what is the scale and scope of what's involved with.
That's probably what I would start. Yeah, that's probably where I would start, and then also coupled with that would be, okay, how much do you think it's going to cost to, remedy it?
Sure.
So I think we can do both at the same time. I haven't really explored what a contract like that would look like. I have an idea based on the prior work we did, but I have to dig into it. Maybe I can report on it next month, and certainly confer with Greg on, how much,
Okay.
we would get into.
Do we want to do more? If you want to do more at this meeting, okay.
I think we should vote
As far as
to-
voted to.
Authorize.
Yeah, unless there's any opposition to that. All right. Do you want me to do that?
Maybe you would suggest the wording of the motion.
All right,
and
so,
we'll determine whether we'll agree with that.
all right. You can reject it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll move that the school committee authorize the district to determine, to get quotes for scope and cost.
Scale.
Scope and scale for Finn site work to deal with structural issues related to water penetration. Any discussion? You guys agree with my wording?
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. All in favor? All right, thank you. Next is update on principal search processes for Finn and Neary. So an email went out on Monday to get community feedback by 12/16 on a survey for, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
for the Neary and Finn principals. So like, did I say something wrong? For either search. And so this evening, we need to agree on one school committee member for each search, and they need to be separate school committee members because the meetings are at the same time, but in different locations, and the dates that you need to be available are 1/8 from 3:30 to 5:30, 1:15 from 3:30 to 5:30, and 1:27, I think it's 8 to 4. So, anybody really interested in doing either one?
I'll do one, whichever. Doesn't matter which one.
Okay.
I'll do one.
Those dates again, please?
1/8, 1:15, and 1:27. So I really want to do one too.
Okay.
We got
Does
it.
anybody else want to? Well, I didn't give everybody a chance yet.
Yeah.
Does anybody else want to do it?
I did, but the 8th, I'm not going to be here, so I think
Okay.
otherwise I would absolutely love to.
I know it's a time commitment.
No.
Oh, okay.
I think Liz is doing.
Oh,
is
okay,
doing
she
some-
put in for one?
yeah, it's-
Okay.
Might be duplicative.
You might need to get a babysitter for
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I'll
Got it.
send myself.
The other thing to be aware of is that this really takes us through the first round of interviews where the search
Right.
committee then makes recommendations. And then there is a second round of interviews. And typically there is an opportunity for school committee to meet with, if there's 2 finalists, for example. So, one of you representing on each of the committees, but all of you will get the opportunity to meet candidates as well.
And this is a big deal.
Mhm.
This,
Yeah.
I mean, this is
Huge deal.
like, this is not going to be the only, like, the school committee member who's representing in the search committee is, like, there's more to it
Yeah.
than that. Like, this is a community effort, and, I mean, out of all the search committees that we do as a district, I think this is one of the only ones that we actually have we solicit parents to join as
Yeah.
members in it, right?
Yes, parents are on the committee. I will say that we have had a tremendous amount of interest in these committees, so
Oh, that's good.
there are I mean, we've had more than 30-something people
Wow.
who,
That's
between
awesome.
staff and
Yeah.
families.
Okay.
So there will also be a lot of people who are not on the committee who offered to be. So
Okay.
something to be aware of. But you're right that later in the process, typically, not only are there parents on the committee, but typically when we are down to a finalist, the finalist has a session where families are invited to come and hear from the candidate, to ask questions of the candidate. So there are definitely multiple opportunities for the public to engage in this survey, as you said, is out right now. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Where are we? Well, first, I guess we probably should finish up with
Okay.
the representatives on these committees first.
Yeah.
So, no question about that.
All right. Alan, did you change your mind?
No.
Okay. Okay. Are you good with that?
I'm very good with that.
All right.
I'm dying to do it, but that one date, I just can't. If there needs to be, and we could make a subsequent one, and for some reason, but other
Right.
than that, I'm
We'll
fine
keep you
just
in mind.
waiting. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
It's tough to sub in for just one time. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
I know.
There's really a
Yeah.
continuity that's so
I know.
important in
Yes.
these things, right?
Yeah.
Go.
Go ahead.
if you were going to miss a meeting, the first meeting would be the one to miss. And so we could work around it. So if, but I think it's really up to you guys to decide. But I would say missing the second or third meeting
Right.
doesn't really work because then you're sort of, it's just harder. But
Yeah.
the first meeting is more about
How it works. I
it's
guess.
how it
Because I did the
works.
previous one.
You've already been on a committee. It's about establishing the questions, so you wouldn't really have a voice in that part. But it's
Now, let me ask this question,
Mm.
because it's relevant to this. So, who would determine, would we leave it as a committee to the two representatives to determine which,
No, I think we should talk about that.
okay, then let's talk about that. So do you have a specific preference? And I think Denise said she would be willing to do either, so do you have a specific preference?
I mean, I'm happy to do either, although I would prefer to do Mary.
If you
but-
prefer to do Neary, why would we,
but-
why would we?
I could care, I'll do whatever.
Yeah, that would be my preference. Okay,
So I'll make a motion
great.
that we appoint Chelsea as our representative to the Neary Search Committee, and Denise is our representative to the Finn's Search Committee for the principals of those schools.
Yep. All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor? All right, thank you.
Now I have a question.
Okay.
So at what stage from a calendar standpoint
Yeah,
are we expecting to, say, close candidates? Okay, I mean, where are we as far as candidates applying for these positions?
does anybody have that?
Yes.
Okay.
So the position is posted. The positions are both posted.
Right.
Candidates are applying. We will keep them. We actually always keep the postings open until we've actually filled a position. So we don't actually close them. But we are planning that in January is when we would start the process of actually interviewing and reviewing applications and then setting up interviews. Our hope is to have gone through not just the first interview, but also a second site visit interview all before February vacation. We would love to appoint someone by February vacation.
So January is a lot of days, so when understanding that you keep things open until you actually fill the position, when are you expecting to make a decision on setting up the people that you're going to set up for interviews? When's that going to happen? January 1st, January 30th?
Of when they would know that they have an interview?
Yes,
So the meeting when
just
we-
curious, sorry.
Sure. The meeting when we will be, let's make sure I get this right, January 15th is when we actually review kind of paper applications and determine who we are inviting for interviews. So
Okay,
that's
so
January
the
15th.
people have to have their stuff in by the 15th of January at least if they want to get invited to that
Yes,
first round?
I would say earlier, because
So are you saying the 8th?
January 8th is when we
Okay.
distribute the resumes
Okay.
to the committee so that they can review them for the 15th.
Okay.
Again, we keep it open, so
Understood.
it has happened before where resumes have come in and we've added people in for an interview. But if you're trying to get a message out to the public, I would say before January 8th would be great.
What's the,
And I do think it's important for people to share these opportunities with their networks. Like this is, you know, as you said, Chelsea, it's not often that we have principal openings, and these are important hires.
what's the contingency if you get into next year and you haven't found somebody that we like?
Well, part of the reason that we're going out at this time is to go out early. It gives us plenty of time that if we wanted to repeat the whole process again
Yeah.
in sort of March to the end of the year, we could do that, and
Yeah.
we have done that before. Are you asking what if we did this twice and did?
Yeah, whatever. I mean, you know,
There are times when we will appoint an interim principal, so it might be that it could be someone from the outside or the inside that is hired with the understanding that it's an interim position, and then it, you know, is a short-term kind of contract, and we continue to search.
yeah.
So we serve a lot of different options.
All right.
All right. So then next is a recap of the meeting that happened on Monday and any follow-up items that we needed to take care of or discuss. And so I'm just going to start with, which I try to normally not start, but I am going to start on this one. So there was a lot of discussion on Monday at the various boards and committees. And I think in that type of meeting, there was a lot that I wanted to interject on because a lot of comments were made that I didn't necessarily agree with, and I thought that they were within the purview of the school committee, but I felt like if I kept going that we would never get out of there.
Yeah.
So I think tonight, what I want to do is talk about some of those things in more general terms on what the position is of the school committee and what our expectations are. So that way it's clear when other boards and committees are meeting with us or without us or whatever, they understand what is under the purview of the school committee and what we would agree to do or what we would not agree to do. Because I think, you know, things were said that this will happen if X, Y, and Z, but if the school committee doesn't agree to do that, then it can't happen. So I'll stop there for a second and see what anybody's reaction is to that, if you agree with me or not.
Totally agree.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to see a waste of money. And if there is a proposal that this board would absolutely not support, then it seems to me, why are we going out and spending money on that proposal? And,
Yeah.
you know, it was confirmed to all the boards, the problems with each school. You know, you have a topography problem up at, we have Finn with the land.
Yeah.
We have this with the septic system, et cetera, conservation. So I think maybe it's time that we do decide that this is what we're going to support or not, because I don't want to see the town going out and spending $200,000 on each of these proposals that may not be acceptable to this board, because why are we spending the money?
So I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. However, from an educational programming perspective, that's where I think we add value, right? So if I look at, for example, an addition to Finn, do I think that educationally would, do I think that would be educationally sound? I do. I think a K-2 school, a K-3 school is a good grade configuration, right? And so the reason why I don't love that as an option is because of all the things that are not related to education, right? So that's where I'm struggling is, yes, educationally it makes sense. if it's done with integrity and we can figure out Chapter 97 and the traffic flow and the parking issues and the risks of having children where they are, I'm fine with it.
You're
Right?
talking about air quality, for
Yeah.
example, based on the proximity to the,
Right.
all that traffic?
Yes. So
I agree.
So I guess where I am getting hung up is we need a good plan to pass.
True.
And if we are not open from an because the education part of expanding FID is doable, right? And that's, at least that's what we've talked about, right? And I think it's all the other things that are going to make it really challenging and potentially more costly than our preferred option. So I agree with you, but I'm not sure that taking a position other than saying what our preference is or what our top choice is really going to reap any benefits in the path that we're going down with a special. But I do think that the suggestion that Jason made about doing the phase, you know, let's say the feasibility study is X, or in schematic design, right, is X, but we don't go past a point once where it's not feasible, we can't, like, we're gonna have challenges with Chapter 97, what, you know, where there's no way to solve for the parking issues without doing something that just put the cost out of, thank you. So that's kind of what I'm thinking in reaction to your comments. I don't disagree.
And I'm in agreement with you on Ben, other
Okay.
than I'm worried about the land issue, the conservation, all of those issues that are not educational.
Yeah.
In terms of whether they're doable or not. I just, you know, and I'll come right out and say, I'm worried about, we took a vote, I don't agree with putting grade 5 here.
Okay, so,
And I just don't want to spend all this money, especially where we talked about the septic system and all the other things. You know, I think those things have to be taken into consideration before we go out and spend $200,000.
but I think it's the same conversation. I think
I was gonna say the same.
I think it's the same thing.
Same issue.
So you've got already a variance from DEP, so that has to be looked at if we really can add more students to this or not. You've got all the wetlands around here, and you also have the wastewater treatment system in that land strip in the gym parking lot. So you're limited, you cannot build on top of that. So you really only have 2 spots that you can build, other than building on top of this, which we know is not cost effective. So if we were to do either one of those additions, I think we're gonna get to if the town does decide to look at this, I think we would get to a point where the feasibility is gonna say, this is possible or it's not. And even if it is, what does that mean for the other parts of the property that would be, that would have to go away to achieve the parking situation, right?
But that's not the educational piece of it.
Exactly. So I go back to the educational piece, and if we could do an addition here with integrity, that it made sense that we could accommodate a 5th grade program as we currently have it in Erie, I think we should be open to it.
Meaning it's separate.
Meaning it's separate.
Can I catch you in your own argument?
Okay.
No, not good.
I'm trying to be,
Diplomatic.
I'm trying to
No,
be.
it was just when you said, well, we could go up, but it's not cost effective.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to go, well.
But I think the
it's
study
not-
will tell
It's not
us.
for us to determine.
No, it's not.
The
You're right.
cost effectiveness part.
No.
If going up, and by the way, I don't agree that ever going to make sense, but if going up was educationally sound, all right.
Fine.
Let the voters
Yeah.
decide on what's cost effective.
Yeah,
Okay, that was just a
I agree.
very
Good-
small point.
Good call out.
Okay, all right.
I'll take it. I thought you were going to say something worse than I said.
I always can.
So that's kind of where I'm at with the FID proposal and the Trotter proposal. My preference personally is still the Neary renovation.
couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. And I think one thing I'll add too is that I think one of the biggest objections over the fact that the vote didn't pass was the lack of options. In doing this and presenting different options and what they are going to entail will shed light on some of the pros and cons of moving forward with some of these different options. Because I think fundamentally there are some people that just don't understand or don't quite ascertain the scope of what it might take to get Trotter or Finn, for example, to a place where we actually could, put additional students or what have you. And just, I think going through feasibility on some of these different options will just shed light and give greater clarity to some people that just don't understand why we can't just shove students in one of the other schools without making a significant investment in a lot of ways. So,
And I think this
gives them options, but also gives them clarity.
And I think
what's going to take. Yeah.
The overriding issue back then was we don't have a choice, but I think people didn't understand that the MSBA does not give you that option to go to town meeting and say, here, decide what you want. We had to cull it down to one option. By the time we went from 12, we went to 1, correct, Roger? We got ourselves down to 1. But that's a requirement. If you're going to use the state's money, you have to do what the state says. And we had to do that. So we couldn't go to town meeting and say, okay, well, here are all the options. We had to go with a unified decision because that was the state's up. The state expects that.
So I also think that that's one of the benefits of not going with MSBA right now is we don't have to tick all the boxes that MSBA has. And so I do think that's why you can go down a certain amount in the process.
But there was some comments the other night, on Monday night, about using state money, and I was trying to...
Yeah, so that's one of the things. That's one of the things that's on my list.
So you can't do one without the other.
No. So do you want me to kind of talk about some of the concerns that I have that are now out there that I think we need to take a position on? So one of them, and I said this in the meeting, but I think we need to talk about it as a committee. I'm not comfortable with putting students and committing to using modulars until we're under construction. 100%. I think that absolutely needs to be part of once we have a plan, and they're getting moved during that phase. I just don't think that I think we would lose so much of our educational program. We knew we were going to do that for the two years already. We knew it was a sacrifice we needed to make. I'm not okay with making that sacrifice without having a project.
As opposed to just saying, well, we're not going to do the roof, so let's just stick them in modulars until we figure everything out.
Yes,
that was discussed.
Because you have no end date, right? It's like, let's just put them over in modulars without it being part of an actual plan.
Right.
Where okay, it's going to be for this long. I think you can manage to some degree to that, although I'm speaking not for the district, but I think the district can manage to some degree with that, but not if it's an open-ended.
Right.
You just can't do it.
I mean, again, with this stuff, it's the same argument that we just got done having. If you could say, well, these modular solutions are going to be great, we are going to be able to maintain it. Do you have to put it in front of the town as an option to consider?
I don't think that's something that as a school committee member I would vote to do, even if the town told us to do it.
Neither would I.
I went to the Neri Band concert, an orchestra concert last night, and I was sitting there thinking, we have such an amazing music program. If we shoved kids into modulars, we would lose all of them.
Yep.
All of it.
Probably.
Probably? 100% you would.
Definitely.
Those kids it's such an awesome program, and I'm not even at Trotter yet. This is Neri. This is second year band. And those teachers meet with those kids once a week for lessons. They meet with them in the morning before school. They do blues band, in 4th and 5th grade. The program and the orchestra was beautiful. I just couldn't stop thinking about people need to understand that this stuff is so important to kids' education.
And I'm sure Roger will agree with me that when we agreed to use those portables, we knew there was going to be a compromise, that these programs were going to suffer, but they were going to suffer for 2 years.
And there's potentially some ways to deal with them in a short
Totally.
time.
Correct.
Not as a not as an open-ended.
Not
Right.
as an answer to the problem.
Right. So that was one of my points. My second,
Sorry, Chelsea,
Go ahead.
are we taking a position
Oh.
on each of these points right now?
so I would like to, but I'm open to what you guys want to do.
I'm fine with that. I was just wondering if we should close one before we go to the next.
Yeah, we can go.
Yeah.
If you guys agree, we can.
No, I think-
I mean, this is me just like,
I think it's
reflecting
a good, I
after
think it's a
the
good
meeting.
way to
No,
progress.
I agree.
okay.
Yeah, because I mean, to be honest, the conversation was so circular for me that it
Yes.
was like, I think it's very helpful to kind of lay these out and just say, this is how we feel about each of these.
And I also think that if we take positions on these, that I should draft a letter before Tuesday night's meeting for select board so that they understand clearly where we were at.
That sounds good.
Okay.
So is a position something that we need, just a process question, is a position something that we need to vote on?
I think we should.
Okay,
I do.
So-
because we're at least going to vote on sending you to the select board with
Yeah.
positions.
We have a big list.
I think if we, and, you know, if we say, well, we unanimously, we
Yeah.
hold this position versus otherwise, you know, then I think it kind of adds some clarity or weight to
Yeah.
sort of how strongly we feel about each of these things
Yeah.
as a committee.
Okay. I don't usually let public talk into public comment on this. So-
I understand. I just want to make one brief observation. I think you own more than the educational perspective. I think you own having something that you can operate.
Okay, that's
That's
fair.
very true.
That's fair.
I'm sorry.
You're 100% right, that is
You
true.
own something that you,
That you have to operate.
Right.
oh,
I think we don't have enough answers to answer some of the operational stuff right now, like parking and traffic flow. But fair point. Okay. So I'm going to move that the school committee take a position on not using modulars until a construction project is underway.
Second.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
clarify that just a little bit.
Yeah.
I think until we have clear timelines to what the construction project
Okay.
will be, right?
All right.
that's different.
Yeah,
We
that
can
is
talk about,
different.
I mean, I'd like to
That is
talk
well,
about
because
that.
I think it's important. I think the important component of this is that we will put them in modular if we know they will be in a modular thing for 2 years. But if it's just, well, you know, once construction starts, we're going to stick them in it, like that's still open-ended to me. I know there will be a timeline associated with that construction project. However, I think the sticking point for us, right, is that it's not open. We're not going to just put students in a modular configuration without
Yeah.
knowing exactly when they're going to get out,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
what grades it's going to affect, or you know, whatever.
Could you say that in the motion that the modulars are tailored to, intertwined to a construction project as it is progressing? So in other words, when you decide on it at town meeting, that's when you're also deciding on the modules because it's part of a construction project.
Can I ask again, but Alan,
It might be-
what was your language there again? Your
I
proposal?
think the component to me is, the important piece is that that it is a set time that the students will be in the modulars versus not, right? What we're saying, what the issue that I'm hearing is that we're just gonna stick them in modular classrooms without knowing when they're gonna not be in modular classrooms.
Yeah.
But if you're not, but let's suppose that we're thinking 2 years, just for discussion's sake. If you aren't tied to construction,
Right.
I guess you can go ahead and say 2 years, but don't you really need more than that?
It needs to be tied to a project.
How about until it's tied to a school project?
School.
Building.
right.
School building
There's a
project.
timeline.
All right.
Because that obviously has like a
Yeah.
date.
Yeah.
And do we want to include a time frame or not?
Oh, no, I wasn't saying that we should have a time frame for it. I'm just saying.
No, what I'm saying, you're saying we shouldn't have a time duration, like 2 years or something like that, or
Oh, to add, no, we should.
okay.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
So a max of 2 years.
Oh, I see.
I mean, I think that's going to be.
I'm looking at his eyes down there to see if he's.
Well, no, that was,
I don't want to-
that wasn't what I was saying, but I
I
think
know.
that's also important, maybe that, I don't know what that.
How about temporary?
Well, And I kind of like, well, right, I kind of like
Temporary.
the 2 year, I mean, I don't know what the right number is.
So we're not
2 years.
bound to this,
Let's have,
right?
let's
Like,
have a temporary 10-year, I mean.
well, look at the Neary modular,
Exactly.
Well, that's why I
so.
just tie it to a, there is a construction project.
Okay,
Right.
all right.
I mean, I think we had to go with, so we're
Because
going,
we-
we're going with 2 years or not?
No.
Because I know why we're talking about this is because there was a discussion that
always-
night about, well, we'll just move them into modules and.
Instead of doing a
Yeah.
roof. And I was like, no, no,
Right, right,
that's not what we're doing.
No,
You- You can always modify a vote. I mean,
Yeah. I think, yeah.
You know,
But I think they
This is
need-
just directionally so
but I
that they
think
know where we're at.
Chelsea's 100% right. They need concrete because they all have different visions of what they think we want or what we will, support. And I think there needs to be concrete items in front of them.
Well, and there's a lot of meetings that are happening without us, and I think that's also challenging. Okay, so I'm gonna take back my motion and I'm gonna do a new motion. So this, I move that the school committee take a position on not using modulars until there's a school building project underway. Do you want the 2 years?
Well, I didn't hear a second to that.
Second.
Okay. So I want to amend that motion, which can be voted on and voted down.
All right.
I want to amend that motion
I feel like I'm at town meeting.
as is, with a maximum time frame of 2 years.
Okay. Second.
Voted up, voted down?
Any discussion? All in favor? All right, unanimous, thanks. Okay, my next one,
Oh, you got to come back to the main motion. You were just voting on the amendment.
we voted it, no?
Oh,
We voted the
There's a
amendment.
vote to
Right,
add
you have to come back to the main
amendment.
motion now and vote that, right?
Oh, because you said as is and then add. All right, fine. So now we're back to the main motion,
There was
which
a
was.
motion, and you put another motion on the floor.
All
That
right,
was
fine.
seconded by Alan, and I just made the amendment. Otherwise,
All right, we're back
who knows
to,
what Robert's Rules of Order are going to do.
so we're back to the main motion
Yes.
with the amendment.
Yes.
All right, all in favor? Yes, okay, thanks. All right, so my second point is, it was said on Monday night, and I think it's created a lot of confusion for parents, is that Neary will be closed at the end of this year.
Yeah.
So, I am not comfortable with that, and I do not think that that is the right decision. I understand we have challenges with what the current situation is at Neary. I have children there, will continue to have children there, and I still think it's the right answer to keep Neary open. So I think we need to talk about what the school committee's position is on that.
How could you do it?
You can't if we're not using modulars. Then
It's
we
ludicrous.
can't.
right?
So I think we just need to be clear that the plan originally, when we thought the building was going to pass,
That's right.
was that children would not be there after June of this year.
That's
We
right.
don't have a plan, so therefore the only option is that the children continue to stay
Until
in
we
the current
have
building.
a plan.
I'd like to think, and of course I don't know this, I'd like to think that some of those comments were really intended, right, to move forward to make something happen, right? As opposed, because you can't close the school, you have, with no options,
No.
right?
Yeah.
And we already have a position that we're not gonna go modular
No.
until there's a plan. So you can't close the school until there's a plan.
Right.
And if unrelated, you probably have to put a roof on it. Boom, right?
We're gonna get to, that's my third point, so hold on. So number 2 has a B as well. And so just to reiterate, the school committee is the only body in town that can decommission a school building to another purpose or whatever. So the other thing that was said multiple times is put a roof on it, and in 3 to 5 years, it'll be a municipal building. So
Yeah, that was it.
I know it was said.
my position at this point is no intention of closing Neary without a building construction plan in place, and no intention to turn the building over to the town until we have a solution for our students.
Long-term solution.
Thank you. Long-term solution. Everybody agree with that? Yes. Okay.
We want, I mean, is there additional piece of like, I mean, we are supportive of actions within reason, including a new roof that maintain a safe learning environment for students. Right, I mean, like, 'cause our position will need to be that we support spending money on here.
Yes. Yes.
Chelsea, to be clear, or to understand, so that I can understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Your issue with this is really this discussion that, people are now trying to get this, to move towards making this a municipal building, which really, they have no purview over that. The
Correct.
only people that can decommission NERI
Yeah.
are the school committee. So
Right.
it's like,
Right. And I just want to make sure that we're all in agreement that we can't close NERI because we don't have anywhere to put the students. Like there's no option. So I think we're stating the obvious here, but it wasn't obvious Monday night.
No, it was not.
is there some position other than this discussion that you think should be taken forward? I think you've got the school committee agreeing 100%,
Yeah.
he's 100% that this is, actually, this is a school committee purview, period.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
If you're talking about decommissioning a building.
Right. Right. And I mean, the feedback that I got after Monday night was parents of third graders are like, so where's my kid going to go next year? I'm like, okay, so we need to talk. That's why I'm bringing it back so that we can, so that I can say with confidence, the school committee took a position that the intention is that next year students will be at NERI barring anything new that comes up, right? Which obviously would be probably something out of our control and we would have to figure it out. Okay.
Do you want to vote on that, Chelsea?
I do. So I'm going to move that the school committee takes a position of keeping NERI open for next school year and continue to keep it open until there is a long-term solution of a school building project.
In progress.
I think that muddies the waters, but
Think so?
yeah. Until we have a.
Because we wouldn't put them into, just as the fourth grade school, we wouldn't put them into the modules until we were going to close at the end of the school year and begin digging ground to get started. And that's when they would move over, so the project would already be approved and started.
We've already sort of talked about the
Yeah.
modular aspect of it, so I think if you
Yeah.
try to start to then combine things, you might open up more.
I just want to be sure that they understand that we're talking about when we hit, not that it's going to be an idea, but that it's an actual in progress. That we have something to do and where these kids are.
I mean, I said in a school building project. I think that means
Okay.
like, how about a voted? Voted?
Can you repeat it, please?
I like that.
Yeah,
Motion.
so I move that I can repeat what I said.
Well, repeat what you want
so
as far as a motion on the floor.
I move that the school committee take a position of keeping NERI school open for next school year and for the foreseeable future until there is a long-term solution in a voted school building project.
100%. Second?
Okay, all in favor? All right. So my third point is I'm actually going to go to Keith and ask him to talk about the bid for services that went out related to the roof and give a timeline of what that means and talk about like what the potential could be for that. And I think we still have some things that we're going to have to follow up on once we get more information. But if Keith can just give an update.
Sure, certainly. So right at the beginning of December, right after the Thanksgiving holiday, we publicized a procurement for a request for qualifications to look at the NERI roof and for a firm, an architectural engineering firm, to investigate the options of the feasible options for the NERI roof, as well as detailed cost estimates. So when we go up for that type of procurement, we solicit it, and then we get proposals that come in. Those proposals are due because we had to follow procurement timelines related to that type of procurement, and those proposals are due on December 19th. And that was the earliest that they could possibly be scheduled because of the advertising requirements that the procurement requires. At that time, we have a team that are going to review all the proposals received by the deadline and hopefully whittle it down to a number of firms that we feel would do and serve our interest well. And then we would continue that conversation to get down to one recommended firm. At which time we would open into a contract conversation with them with deliverables and a timeline of those deliverables and how they can achieve what we want them to achieve with the project. So we also have a Christmas break in the middle of this, which may or may not enable me to get that information that we need to make a determination. So I'm hopeful, always hopeful, and will be very clear that we're hoping to get that information as soon as possible. So for example, if the firm has 9 projects lined up and they're not going to be able to touch the Neary roof until March, then that's going to be a part of our decision of who we contract with, and I'll be working closely, obviously, with Becky and Greg, and to make that determination and make that offering. The hope is if all of this goes well, we can get into a contract with a firm in early January, and then set a timeline for those deliverables. There is so much that has already been done about Neary from the reports we've gained. We have a consultant. We're going to flood them with all of this information that's going to help. We also have winter months, so there might be a little bit of peeling up of the roof and seeing what's underneath, but that's part of what the investigation was going to do. So what we're also going to aim to get is an order of magnitude for what we think the project would do to at least keep things moving forward like were discussed on Monday night, and then possibly as that timeline progresses, we can get that detailed report and refine that cost estimate of what it's going to take with the recommended options. So that's what we're hoping for. But there's a lot of, especially in the beginning, getting to that firm and making sure that they can deliver what we want in a reasonable timeline is going to be a thing we'll keep you posted on.
One of the things that I think we should know, there's been conversation in town. Jason mentioned something that was very important the other night, that when you put on a new roof and then later you go back to do, put a new HVAC system, you're drilling into that and compromising your warranty. And then I heard today from someone, oh no, that's not the case. You only compromise certain areas of the roof on that warranty. So I kind of would like that clarified as to whether or not the roof is compromised or just the areas where you've now put HVAC.
That will absolutely be part of the questions we want this firm to answer. What I know about it, because we are working on these types of projects for the Trottier roof replacement and the Z roof replacement in Northborough, is that is always a question that they ask. And and it would then make the type of roofing system, which ones are and are not available, to help preserve as much warranty as possible.
Which is really important.
Oh, it's critical, sure. Okay.
I don't think we need a position on that one, but just wanted you guys to get an update on that. My last point is related to the override comments that were thrown around in the meeting. I found that part very confusing, and I don't think that there's been at least any direction for the school committee on whether an override is imminent, what it exactly means. I have not lived in town since there's been an override, so I was concerned that if that's going to limit the options that we do have, even if we go to town meeting before annual town meeting and secure the funding, then we would have to go for an override. It was stated after that. So I think I would like to make a request of the select board that they have a discussion with them, with advisory, on what exactly that means and what we need to be aware of as we kind of continue to go down that path. And I think it goes beyond even this conversation. It goes into our budget discussions as well, and understanding like really where is the town at, and I think it's important for us to know what we would need to do or not if truly was happening, but I have not seen any formal discussions that select board or advisory have had stating that we do need to go for an override, and I think we need to go.
Do you recall, I think it was one of the select board members that just mentioned it, will probably have it over, do you know who it was? I can't remember.
Al Hamilton, wasn't it?
Was
I think it was Al, and then
Oh, Al, okay.
Andrew Pfaff said something too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, from
Yeah, but I think we need to know that sooner rather than later, so I hope that's gonna get flushed out soon. But I think we need to understand that, so I'd like to also include that in my letter. I don't think we need a position on that. Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to say about Monday?
I have one more item that's not within the school committee purview, but it's a select board decision, which is potentially the date of the special meeting. They discussed it as, or they identified it as March, okay, and then there was a discussion about, I think, Jason, for example, said, you know, we should do this as soon as possible, or that was his feeling of January. Maybe there's actually a compromise position which still gets us moving before March, because if things get voted down in March, all of a sudden, you know, we don't have as much time to try to deal with it as it was an earlier meeting.
Okay.
But I don't know what the perfect date is, but and I don't know that the select board wasn't potentially considering a date move, which I think they may be discussing at this next meeting. But you know, they didn't really take a position, and didn't necessarily have to take a position either, at least at this point.
Yeah.
They need to be cognizant of February vacation as well.
Yeah.
Well, if you had a February meeting, it would probably have to be that first week, right? You'd have to stay away.
From February vacation.
You'd have to stay away from the February vacations, but.
Yeah.
You know.
So I'm happy to include in there our concern around the March 7th date.
Being
Because
potentially too late
because we have no time to react.
recover.
Right.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden.
So I think in that case, I would look to Keith on what the earliest date possible would be in order to have more accurate numbers on the roof that we just talked about. And I'm not going to put you on the spot. I think you, like, I'll craft this email or letter
Sure.
and touch base with you.
Yes.
And you probably won't know anything more by the time I send it on Friday.
Probably not. Definitely not.
But you can think about it some more.
I can think about it a lot, sure. And I've thought a lot about it since Monday, and you know, if all goes well, and you know, Greg and I had a very quick conversation with that, because we don't want a rushed job,
No.
because we
We don't.
want it to be thorough. So the way that we kind of crafted our thinking around it is that at minimum they can look at comparable, you know, year of age of roof, type of roof system, some of the overall square footage, some of the general things. They can at least get us an order of magnitude
Yeah.
to see where we are, and certainly in conversations with Mark Robidell about the building commissioner, about where we land when it comes to other things that it might trigger, and that was a conversation on Monday about ADA compliance or other types of things that once you peel up the roof, what you discover and what you have to remedy,
Yeah.
what are required to do versus nice to do. You know, and I think Greg and I, our conversation is that if we can get that order of magnitude at some point, as early in January as we can,
Yeah.
it's only going to help.
Yeah.
Then it's also, do we have the ability, once we get the detail of the report and a quality job done by the firm that we're going to select, will it then be reinforced by their detailed report? You know, so it's almost two-phase. Can you give us an order of magnitude and
Yeah.
deliver the report of high quality, which then either solidifies or tweaks that number? Hopefully tweaking it down and not up, but my guess is anyone that's going to give us an order of magnitude is going to give us a number that's going to make people cringe, and then we will be able to come down with more detail. But I am forecasting something that is only based on the experience that we've had with some of the feasibility and schematic that's been done here at Trotter
Yeah.
and at the Z School. And that's what I'm basing that on.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you are talking about doing the roof,
Yeah.
should you also tie in the fire suppression system at the same time because it's right up there or not? Or does it not
Probably
matter?
not, because it would be an entirely separate system with different utility and all different other aspects and other code compliances.
But there's also another piece of that. If you do renovate near it
Mhm.
and you have already put a roof on it
Mhm.
and you start moving walls around,
Mhm.
the fire suppression system is not going to be appropriate until you know where the wall placement is.
Right, yes,
You know?
Mhm.
right.
Because if you do if you change the construction and you have to change all of the suppressing.
So I think, I'm hoping that we're gonna get more information about how specifically to deal with this unique situation. Because,
Of the roof,
yes.
yeah.
Because I don't think anybody wants to put a new roof on to then ruin it, right? Like nobody like we all have kids going through this, and like I don't think anybody's saying we need to put a roof on it because it's the right thing. It is the right thing to do, but it's fiscally not the right thing to do. So I'm hoping that we're going to get more information from Keith as we go through this process and can figure out what is the best decision fiscally for the town, what's the best decision for the people who are occupying the school, so that we do have some all-encompassing plan. And it may not be a pretty option for 2 years, but if it allows us to keep the kids safely in the school and not throw a brand new roof away, I think we should continue to pursue that.
And that's why it was specific about what are the options. And we will forecast that and be very clear, with the firm about, what we're currently grappling with, what we're
Yeah.
trying to explore, and, what are the immediate needs, and then what are some of the long-term goals. So
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be able to frame that pretty well. And based on a couple of conversations I've had with different firms,
Yeah.
I think this is going to be something that they can adapt to.
Okay, but back to Roger's point, I do think that asking for them to relook at a different special town meeting date prior to March 7th so that we have time to react is a realistic.
The reason being that we do want to have all the information available, okay?
Yeah,
And yet have a meeting as soon as we can have all the information available, so that gives
Yes.
us some runway
yeah,
afterwards. Not easier said than done, I guess, but.
right. Right, okay. I know we talked a lot about this on Monday, and I didn't want to talk about this as long as we did, but I think it was important. So, anybody have any final thoughts about this item?
No, but I think it was a good idea.
Okay, great. Okay. Enrollments. Becky,
Yes.
you're on.
Right, so, in your packet are the enrollments as of November 18th, and just a couple of things to point out on this enrollment report. So, we have not moved any of the teachers or the staff forward in our projections for FY '27. So we have kept those the same. And then the other point that I wanted to make is right now we have a projection of 140 students in kindergarten. We are really looking more at 115 in kindergarten, just looking at historical trends. And so that would be one adjustment that we would be making. And then in terms of year to date, so far we have 4 more students enrolled in our schools. Actually 4 more since the previous month, but we are up 4 since the beginning of the school year. So we have 1,219 students as of November.
So can we kind of loop the budget discussion into this? Because I have a few questions about kind of what we're projecting for next year and how to go about that. Does anybody else have any questions before I start on the enrollment? So right now, I know you didn't update the FY '27 teachers in those slots. But if we were to take the number of teachers that we have today and the number of teachers that we would project for next year, do we have a difference?
So if we were to project right now, there would be a difference of, I believe, 2 teachers.
We need 2 more.
We would actually, so in the FY27 budget that I'm presenting tonight, I did add 2 additional teachers, and because those are based on the previous conversations, so those are at Neary based on those class enrollments.
Okay.
However, if you're looking at some of the other grade levels in the elementary, it does look as though we could potentially have some different class sizes or different staffing levels than what we have proposed. So for example, the current second grade at Woodward has 6 sections. We were originally thinking they would have 7, but we could stick with the 6 sections in the second grade. So
Because
that's one
between
area.
second and third grade, you have an increase on the cap on what your class size is.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that's one area.
So that would be a 3rd additional teacher? No?
No.
That would
no.
be a reduction.
Yes, yeah. That would be a reduction.
Oh, got it. So,
So-
okay, so right now, what your projection has is 7 in second grade?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
got it.
Yeah. So our projections right now, we had 7 at all of the grade levels, with the exception of the 4th grade at Neary, where we were looking at 8. So that
Yeah.
would have increased our numbers by 2.
Okay,
However, if we look at the class size, I do think that at the elementary level, we really could, I think it would be 41 elementary teachers that we would, 40 elementary
Is that
teachers that would
an
be
increase
needed.
of 1?
It would actually be a decrease of 1
so,
Compared to what, the budget, or compared to this year?
compared to this year.
so I want to talk about kindergarten for a second. So what do you have for FY27 for kindergarten?
Right now, I have 7 sections.
Okay, so we have 115 students. If we get 6 more, then we definitely need the 7th.
We'd be right over that.
Right? So a couple of years ago, we said we were going to reduce a kindergarten teacher, and then we had more enrollments.
Yeah.
And where we're in December, I think we need to talk about whether we would even entertain that or not. My recommendation is that we stick with 7 because we're only in December. I think 6 is a very small number to have to add. So I think we should keep kindergarten at 7, unless somebody disagrees.
It's reasonable.
And I also think the smaller the class sizes you can have there, the better. I think, having 16 in a class is really good for kindergarten. I doubt that that's what it's going to end up being, because I think we'll probably see more than 6 kids get that. So second grade, right now they have 6.
Can I go back to first
Oh,
grade
yeah.
also?
Oh, yeah, go
Because I
ahead.
do have 7.
Yeah?
But if you notice with 7, again, that's a small class size for first grade.
Yeah.
And by having 6 sections, we're still within the class size policy.
But so we did this with second grade this year,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we maybe wouldn't, knowing what we know now. I just, we had 4 kids move in this month, right? Like, I feel like I have learned doing this a couple of years now. I think once we're getting close to that cap, I don't love risking going over it. And I think it's really important at these younger grade levels that we keep within our class size policy. And it's impossible for us on August 28th when we're starting school, when a kid shows up to register for school and it's the 121st kid, and then we're over our class size policy. I think it's, for me, I would rather fight for making sure that we're staying within our class size policy, because I think 4 kids is, I think
Could be significant.
it could be. That's my opinion. Anybody else have one? So I would keep that at 7. Do I have a second grade? All right, no, that's fine. So that would be the current second graders. So we're talking about, I'm sorry, future second graders. So now
No.
we're talking about current second grade that would be 3rd, right?
We haven't talked about future second graders.
Yes.
Oh, I thought we just,
No, we were
Oh, we just
talking,
talked
no, we were
about-
talking about kindergarten, that would
Yeah,
be
but
next year's first grade.
First grade.
yeah.
Now we're talking about FY
Now we're-
27 second grade.
We're talking about FY27 second grade.
Yes.
Okay. So there, I think you need to have a 7.
Yes.
And then next year's 3rd grade is where you're saying the cap increase. Does anybody have an opinion on this one?
The 3rd grade, we could reduce one? Is that
Yeah.
what-
Yes.
right,
Well,
right.
you would keep what you're
We
at,
keep what you're at,
Right,
right,
yes.
right.
because you're over, well, you're
Right,
kind of over
right,
now.
right.
So right now,
Keep
we
what you're
have,
at,
right
Steph.
now we have 6 sections and there are 119 students, so it's like,
third grade.
but it's the same as the second
it's-
grade that's
okay.
moving
Yeah.
to 3rd. So we're at 19.83 students, which for 3rd grade, the class range is 16 to 22.
Right. So you have a little bit more wiggle room there. So you could keep that at 6. Thoughts?
I think we're okay there because you do have flexibility.
Yeah.
We don't want to be in a position with no flexibility.
So why don't you do that at 6? Because you're within class size policy. All right. So then next year's 4th grade, you need 8. And then 5th grade, you need 8.
We have
Sorry,
7.
you need 7. Sorry, great, 8 and then 7. Okay. Everyone agree with those? Okay.
That would be one new additional position.
Okay. One new
So
additional.
right now I have 2 operational.
Okay. You have 2.
I think the 2 is
We were, yeah.
Okay, so why don't you keep the 2 for now? And so add, so that's the next year's 3rd grade, would be 7. Okay. We don't need to make a decision on this tonight, do we? Okay. I just want to make sure everybody understands like
Yeah.
where we're at. Okay, so then for middle school. So this year, we're hitting the cap for 6th grade. I'm looking at you guys. And then 7th grade, we're at the minimum. And then 8th grade, we're kind of in the middle. And I understand there's like, like, as you explained tonight, the middle school scheduling is way more complex. But if you look next year on just a pure division equation, we're obviously skewed because you're getting a smaller 5th grade class in, you're getting your 8th graders that are a little bit larger is going out, and so you really have 2 smaller grades out of the 3. So, and I obviously don't know the intricacies of
Sure.
what goes on from like a scheduling
Yeah.
perspective, and I'm sure it's like really complicated. But can you kind of just give us some insight into what the actual class size averages are and like what opportunities could potentially exist here?
Yeah, I would add one of the for the complications is certification. You know, and what I mean by that is when you look at the elementary school, you know, if you were to shift a 3rd grade teacher up to 4th grade, you have that fluidity, and that's if the numbers shift and dictate that, and go back and forth. Here at the middle school, because you have to be certified in the content area, we don't have that fluidity. So it's not, you know, we have to have science teachers teach science. We have to have math teachers teach math. And so what we have every year is kind of, we will have, you know, we'll have a class that's going to be a little bit higher, or we'll have classes that are going to be a little smaller. And then if you look at the following year for NERI, for example, I think, is it a 130 something is coming up?
137, yeah.
And so I understand, so Chelsea, I understand, so even if there's like this idea to kind of reduce or shift for this year, for next
Yeah.
year, you kind of weather that storm, but then we're back at it the following year. And so I would say we've kind of maintained that 777. What it looks like is that we have a set of teachers, we have 5 teachers pretty much for every core area. Science, math, social studies. ELA is a little bit more inflated just because we have a second ELA course in 6th grade.
Okay.
And and then within that, we'll have one teacher who will teach, say, 5 6th grade classes, and then another teacher could teach 2 to 3 6th grade classes, and then swing up to teach 2 or 3 7th grade classes.
Okay.
And so those numbers get a little bit more of a moving target as opposed to what you're seeing at the elementary school.
Sure.
So if you're asking me to to give you an average, it's somewhere around 17 or 18. But again, if you look at some of our math classes, we have some of our teachers have 22 kids in those classes.
Okay.
But then but if you look at a particular social studies class, we could have a 14. But there's other drivers to that.
Okay.
Some of those drivers are electives, band, chorus, orchestra, world language, and so sometimes we do have a challenge within our schedule not to have purely balanced classes. We always have, every year we have a class that could run over 20s, and we could have a class that could run at 14. It would be great to take those other kids and sprinkle them in to have this, a 17 and a 17.
Yeah.
But for a variety of reasons, that's not,
Okay.
But I do think when looking at the middle, and we could have kind of other conversations.
Yeah.
That certification and that content-specific need for teachers pigeonholes us. I would say years ago we had, Keith can attest to this, we had more teachers with dual certification. We would have a math teacher teaching science or a science teacher teaching math. We don't have that as much. I think it's a challenge. We don't have that certification.
Yeah.
And I also think the content specific requirements make it very challenging as well. Yeah. So that's just kind of a general.
Okay.
But I'm can also continue to entertain questions. And Stephanie and Keith, if I missed anything, please feel free to add.
I think the only thing I would add is just that it's something we're looking at
Yeah,
and we need to continue looking at.
Yeah.
I think, which ranges from just really looking carefully at the distribution of class size, but also looking at scheduling.
Yeah.
The high school and the other, their middle school, they all grapple with these challenges, and so we're continuing to work on what are the options within the schedule, what are the options with certification, with all of these different constraints.
Yeah.
I think it's a really valid question that we need to continue to explore.
I think just kind of looking at the whole
Sure.
continuum, talking about having 20 kids or 21 kids in a 2nd grade class,
Sure.
and then you've got 14, 15,
Sure.
16 kids in an 8th. It's hard for me to say that's fair,
Yeah.
right? And so, but understanding that it's not just a strict division
Yeah, it is.
equation,
Right.
I recognize that. So I think, if we can continue to look at this, I think that would be helpful. And understanding that we're in a really tough budget cycle, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, because of drivers that are outside of everybody's control, right? But appreciate the insight.
Of course.
Anybody else have any questions about this? You guys can go enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right. Thanks.
I just wanted you here for that, because I knew we were going to go through all that.
But thank
So
you
I
for the
appreciate-
opportunity tonight. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you for coming.
Have a great night.
Appreciate
Thank
all
you,
your
guys.
work.
All right.
But as you walk out, we want you to think about class sizes.
I got roofs, class size, I got a lot of
Yeah,
people.
roofs.
Think about.
Yeah. You got some added
Yeah.
color there tonight, so.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Okay. Becky. the FY26 budget line, item transfer, and the general expenditure report.
So I did provide the committee with a memo just outlining the 4 accounts that, 4 function codes that are currently over budget. Those are first business and finance, and that is due to some salary adjustments. Administrative technology, that is the purchase of a new software system for our HR department. Instructional materials, we did need to require some additional classroom resources for both math and ELA at the beginning of the year. And then lastly, health services. We are now reimbursing staff for their co-payments that are outlined in the collective bargaining agreement. Previously, that had been funded by the town. However, those funds are no longer available to us. So I've been working with Brian Valentine, and we have 2 options. The first one we've discussed really is to request a transfer from the reserve fund at the end of the year for those expenses, or there's also a health insurance line item that we may have access to as well. So that's something that I have been working with Brian on, and as of right now, we've only reimbursed about $1,400, but last year we did see a more sizable amount of reimbursements for our staff.
So is this new this year that we don't have access to that fund?
Correct.
So did we not know?
No, we did not know until after the budgets were approved that this was not going to happen.
So why did it go away?
The funds were, I believe that the funds ran out that they had in this account.
But is
for
it
the
like,
reimbursement.
well, what kind of fund is it?
It was something that was established as part of when we renegotiated our the higher co-pays with our associations, and I believe that the other associations, perhaps at the town level, those were negotiated out of their contracts. We did not know that, and they were not aware that it was in our contract, and so that's what happened with the funding.
So,
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time with this one.
Yes.
So is this a line item in the operational budget on the town side that was not funded at town meeting?
Correct.
So they just did away with it and didn't tell you?
That's my understanding, yes. Yeah. We found out at the end of the year that they were almost out of money and that the funds would not be available for this year.
And how much did we spend on this last year?
We did not. The town was able to.
So, sorry, how much did we ask the town for last year?
I would have to check with Brian Valentine because it all went through them.
Oh, you
We
don't
did
have
not
it.
process it. Yes.
Oh.
So this is the first time we're processing these. So we're,
Okay.
yeah. So we're still working out the details on this, but it is something that we do need to reimburse our staff for since it is in the collective bargaining. And I know Dave Finneran is on the Health Insurance Advisory Committee and is aware of this as well, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Can you find out the budget line item that this was on,
I will.
please, on the town side?
Yep.
So now this will become a line item budget, our budget?
It is something that I will have to add to
Include.
the budget. So I will need to get those numbers from Ryan, so we have an idea of what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Question on a different item.
Insurance just keeps on giving. Yes?
So did the new software sort of come out of nowhere? That's the one that's kind of the most significant number on a relative basis. and
So
it
this is
wasn't
actually,
really-
it's a new FMLA system that the HR department is going to be using. So that's actually 30% of the cost of this software system because it's shared across the 3 districts. But it is something to help them streamline their functions.
And we really didn't know necessarily.
We did not. It was something that, we found out about this product, and because of the number of FMLAs that they have been processing, it was something where we did look to see if there was another line item that we could take that from. And then in terms of the monthly general fund report, you can see that the budget balance is $175,000, or 0.7% of the total operational budget. I will let the committee know that last week I did freeze the FY26 budget This is something that we've done in previous years. It's really out of being cautious right now, and with the understanding that principals, directors, the administrative team knows that if there is something that is required, they can come to me and have a conversation, especially as it relates to the needs that our students have. So while it is frozen, we're just being cautious about the spending. It's not a no to everything. It's just looking and making sure that it's a need and not just a want.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? All right, so I move that we vote to accept the FY26 monthly general fund report as of November 30th, 2025 until audited, and to approve the function codes listed that have been overexpended in FY26. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Yeah, 5-0, thank you. Approval of warrants and payroll.
So also included in your packet is a listing of the payrolls and the warrants that were processed during the month of November. We did have 2 cycles. This month we will have 3, so it's a busy month this month.
You used to vote that, right? All right, so I move that we approve the warrants and payrolls as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. All right, the approved FY27 capital plan.
So that is in your packet just as a reminder. This was approved at last month's meeting, but it does outline some of the items that we talked about earlier this evening, especially as it relates to Finn and Neary.
So I think we need to asterisk the roof replacement.
For Neary?
Yeah. You agree?
And
Because it's an estimate.
It is, and it's off of the report from '24, right? Because we only went off of the best numbers we had at the time.
Mhm.
So maybe
Yeah.
one way to asterisk say is that the figure could be updated once that report, the updated report's received, like we discussed earlier.
Yeah,
Would you like that to be the way it worded?
that works.
Okay. So, we have to
Do you
re-vote
want
that,
to
do you?
vote it with that?
Do we need to know it?
Is it just an
I think it's
asterisk?
just an addition.
Yeah, I think you're just adding
Yeah.
information.
I'll just add information. I don't think it needs to be voted. If it does, we can bring it back to next month's meeting.
Yeah. I just don't want anybody taking the number.
Well, and that's happened before.
Like, right,
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
yeah.
And that's why I try, even though some of these projects are old or whatever, we really have tried to update the numbers as best we can, but we can only go off of information we have.
Yeah.
We can't just
Yeah.
project.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anybody have any other questions on this? Revolving accounts.
Okay. So also included are the revolving accounts for both Southborough and then also the preschool for the region. One thing that I do want to note is that we are right now working with the town to move some of the health insurance benefits onto the food services and also the extended day program. We do that on a quarterly basis, so those numbers will obviously be impacted in next month. But right now, I think everything is really remaining as we've been projecting it throughout the year.
So the FY27 budget priorities, so those we agreed to at least last month, if not the month before. And the budget calendar is in there.
And Cheryl has updated that also
Okay.
because we did receive some new information from the town. So some of the new things we do need to, if we have a money warrant article, but that is due to the select board's office by December 19th at noon. So that is next Friday at noon.
So that would be like our budget?
No, that would be
Oh,
if
no,
we
no,
wanted to
sorry.
put like some sort of warrant, like a.
Okay.
a
Placeholder.
rule for, yes, you know.
So we probably need to talk about that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is that part of your budget presentation? Or you want to do that now?
It is not, but I mean, we could talk about that now. It's not part of my budget presentation.
So I think we need to put a placeholder in for Neary, because we don't know what we don't know from special town meeting. And assuming that we have enough time to react if we do run into an issue where everything fails, I think we need to have a contingency on that. I also think that we should probably have a separate article potentially for a Neary roof. Because I don't, what if that fails again? Like, well, I don't mean what if it fails again. I just don't know what we're gonna need at annual. So I think we just put a placeholder in just in case. I didn't name it.
So when you said placeholder for Neary, you're talking about the roof or? something?
No.
Oh.
No, I was talking about the, like, in reaction to not funding feasibility and schematic design for the potential options that we agreed to last week, or Monday, kind of. Which was your whole point to move up special town meeting,
Right.
right?
Was it just
Well, we're gonna need
placeholders?
we're gonna need an amount, right?
No, it's just a
No.
It's
placeholder.
just a.
Just a placeholder.
Just a placeholder.
All, it's a placeholder, this one, okay,
Mhm.
sure, absolutely, makes sense. for sure.
What about Trotter roof? That needs to be its own article.
That will be its own separate article.
So that's not part of the capital article. That will be its own with MSBA language.
Correct.
So that's a third. Is there anything else we need? Please. Nothing else?
Wait, placeholder for Neary. Trotter is his own separate.
Yeah.
The
And then
the
there's
MSBA,
Veneer.
accelerated repair.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
you
that's
did
right
say
And
there.
then your,
Sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, okay, so 3 items.
I think.
And we will get the MSBA language.
yes,
Yes, yeah,
Right.
yeah. We have vote and then, yeah, motion language.
okay.
And then we have our regular budget article and our regular capital article,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The only other date too that, sorry, did you want to?
The capital articles, are they separate for each project?
No,
We can lump them together?
Yeah,
yeah.
Great,
It's part of the overall.
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The only other date is that there's a tentative date for January 10th, which is a Saturday, for the meeting with the town administrator, select board advisory, and the school committee and superintendent, where we would present our budget to them.
January 10th.
January 10th.
All right.
All right.
Revised preliminary?
Revised preliminary budget.
Here we go.
Okay, all right, so, since we last presented, the administrative team, the principals, directors, we have all been working together, to look at, the operational budget and to come up with some different plans in terms of, funding for the FY '27 budget. And so really tonight, we're gonna present to the committee, a few of our thoughts. As I had stated at the last school committee meeting, that there are a number of budget drivers, and I would say that the 4 items really that are driving the FY '27 budget are our special education out-of-district tuition, as well as the special education collaborative tuition. Our substitute line items are also higher than they have been in years past, and that is due to historical data. And then obviously salaries, as really salaries do make up about 80 to 85% of our operational budget. So since the last meeting in November, oh, did you have a question?
Well, you said out-of-district tuition,
Yes.
transportation out-of-district for
No,
special ed, or that's not?
That's not one of the budget drivers.
That's not one of the
Yes.
budget, okay.
At least not at this
Okay.
point. Yes, it's the tuition for out-of-district and then the collaborative tuitions. Those are the 2 special education lines that we're seeing an increase in. And the collaboratives would be like the Assabet Valley Collaborative that we are a member of, and so they offer programming for some of our students to attend.
But to repeat myself, so you're not seeing an increase in the out-of-district transportation, not so far. So, thank you.
So at our preliminary budget meeting in November, we did present a 6.48% increase. Since that time, we did add those two classroom positions that we just spoke about, and we also received an update on a student who does require out-of-district services, and that student's placement is changing and it is now more expensive. So that increase that you see from the preliminary budget to the updated preliminary budget is a reflection of those items. And then we have worked as a leadership team to further find an additional $866,000, which is bringing us to a revised preliminary budget tonight of 5.78, which is a $1.4 million increase over the FY26 budget. So some of the offsets that make up that $866,000, we have worked with both the elementary and the middle school principals, where they have gone through their line items and they have made some reduction in funds for instructional materials. The student support services, we are looking at reconfiguring some services that we currently contract outside of the district with, and maybe bringing those in-house for a greater savings. Curriculum, the teaching and learning team has met. We are planning to move some expenses to a state grant, so not a federal grant, a state grant, so that we are certain that those funds will be available to us. And then also we are looking at the science curriculum that we spoke about, actually Gary spoke about at the middle school, and maybe phasing that in as opposed to implementing it in all 3 grade levels. Our technology team has looked at their budget, and one area that we would be able to achieve some savings is through leasing devices versus purchasing those, and then deferring purchases of some other small equipment. Operations has looked at their line items, and so we are looking at the reduction of funds for building and grounds maintenance, and maybe looking at that revolving account that we have that is based off of the rental that we receive from both ABC and then also the central office to backfill that reduction. We have also looked at some savings from retirements, and there is a reduction of a 1.0 FTE in this. And then lastly, we are looking at utilizing our FY27 circuit breaker based off of our projections for FY28. We are looking at using $500,000 of circuit breaker. And for the committee's benefit, we typically do not use circuit breaker money in the year in which we receive it. So for example, this year in FY26, we're using our FY25 money. And for FY27, we would normally just be using FY26. But with this, we are proposing using $500,000 of FY27, which would mean that we would have $500,000 less to use in our FY28 budget. So that is something that I just wanted to make the committee aware of.
Can you, are you ready for questions?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how much we've received in circuit breaker for the last 5 years?
I do.
Great.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
Are you willing to share?
You can take over. Okay. You can take over for Greg any meeting. I'm just kidding. Hopefully he's not watching.
I'm sure he is. So I actually have back to FY20 for FY21 because we have been tracking that. So we typically receive, I'd say the lowest amount that we received was in FY21, and that was $1,066,000. And the amount that we actually received in FY25 of $1.3 million was the most that we'd ever received. So we average, I would say, $1,178,000 is about our average. So we are projecting, we have run some very preliminary projections, And we are thinking that we might receive like 1.3 again next year. And that is based off of our current student population and our projected costs. But again, those can change. We may be able to bring a student back in district. We may have another student who goes out. So those can obviously change.
So the challenge with this is, it goes back to the account we set up that we haven't been able to fund, right? So it sounds like for FY27, we are in a peak for the need and a valley for the matchup of the reimbursement that we're getting. So how did you come up with the 500,000?
We looked at our out of district for FY28. We do have at least one student who will be aging out, who is a rather large tuition.
Okay.
So we were thinking that we may have another one of those valleys in that year where we may be able to sustain that. But again, that is risky because we are having new students who are qualifying, when we don't anticipate that.
Yeah.
Or we could have somebody move into the district.
Right. So, does anybody want to say something?
I have a question on
Go ahead.
another item.
Oh, okay.
But-
Can we stay on
but
this
I
one?
want to finish that.
Yeah.
Finish that one.
So I don't love using funds and taking away from a future year, but I understand why we did it here. I think it logically does make sense. I just don't know that the 500 is the right number to use for this. So I don't know what everybody else's reaction is.
Or
to
even if
this.
we have to, I guess we have to put some number in, or no number in, right? I mean, if we don't put that number in, then all of a sudden we only have a $366,000 offset. Right?
Well, right, and I mean, this is essentially taking 2% off of the increase because 250,000
Right.
is one.
Right.
So,
Is it too early to be?
I mean, we are
Proposing that?
continuing to do some work behind the scenes.
Uh-huh.
And maybe we can also have the conversation too about if we were to keep this in, what else would we need to do to kind of come in to the town's parameters?
yeah,
And then circle back on this piece of it.
yeah, no, that's fine. Did you want to ask a question about another item?
Different
Go
line
ahead.
item.
Yep.
So other than that, by far the most significant item is technology. So I have just 4 very quick questions about that. One is, what is the useful life of a student device? Is there is it 2 years, 3 years, 5 years?
We're on a 5-year.
5-year,
replacement
okay.
cycle.
So if you weren't leasing it, you were purchasing it, you would be expensing those, right? You wouldn't be in the year that they're purchased.
Correct.
So the decision to lease, and we're looking at the result of just the lease payments for this next year as compared to if we bought those items, okay, which will last for 5 years. So how many years do you lease something for? Is this a 2-year lease? Or, I know you're only expensing the part of the lease payment. What's your commitment on that?
It would be a 3-year lease.
3-year lease? So we're kicking the can down the road a little bit on this for sure. Just, again, mortgaging the future a little bit on this. It is the most significant.
So are we doing this to save money for this year, or was this always the overall plan?
This was actually an adjustment that was made to save.
Yeah, have you ever, I mean,
Typically,
no,
we are
typically you just
purchasing.
purchase them, right?
Yes.
And they
Yeah.
last for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
all of a sudden,
Yeah.
we're we're gonna have to do something in 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not even sure what the difference is, but, so I'm just, you know, I know that times are tough and you have to make certain trade-offs, but again,
I mean, it reminds me a little bit of some of the curriculum things. There are times where they are offering us
A deal.
3-year licenses, 6-year licenses, and it is significantly less expensive, but you have to pay up front.
well,
And-
is this significantly less expensive for a 3-year?
Well, when I say significantly less expensive, I mean if you were paying year by year, but it's not how it works. So it's the same kind of idea of like, the cost to us this year is much greater if we purchase
Absolutely.
devices.
The device is gonna last for 5 years.
Right.
And,
No, I
and
recognize, it's
You
just
hope.
sometimes this is between a rock and a hard place,
Yeah.
like this
So-
is what we can afford.
So the original proposal, I think, was $141,000 for it to purchase, and then leasing
because
it
you've
would
got
be
X,
like
X
52.
number of devices and,
Yeah.
let's see. Okay, I'm just saying.
But in the lease situation, if something goes wrong, they provide another one. If we own them, it's our problem.
It is, but we have, with those come outstanding warranties and services that allow that same type of replacement policy or repair. So they're both, I think they're both equivalent, if not stronger with a lease. I'm not positive, I haven't talked to the details with it, but I think it's equivalent to what we've had when we purchased.
And again, the difference is what you are spending in lease payments for this next year, which would be one of the 3 years of the lease, right? And next year,
We have to pay.
you're
Yes,
gonna, well, and then next year, you have to pay that same amount again, and you're gonna have to go out and get devices, okay? Of the ones that you're gonna retire for next year. So, you know, it's, you know, I do this with my checkbook, and it doesn't work that well. It really doesn't.
So do you want to suggest that we don't do it this way?
I mean, I know that folks are struggling to try to find out ways to
I
bring
know.
this number down, but it's just a little different version
Yeah,
of mortgaging our future.
Yeah.
Okay, and then being behind a larger, larger boulder next year. Now, the whole issue of override this year, not this year, who knows? But I think we should. I mean, I'm sure that you've looked at everything, and this is one of the things you were able to come up with.
Each department was asked
Right.
to kind of look at their budget and define ways that they would be able to achieve savings, and this is one of the ways that they were able to find that savings.
For this year.
Right, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's going to be,
yeah.
it's going to be tacked on to next year and the
Right.
next year, and actually 2 years after that, because you got to do something. You're going to have to do something after the lease runs out. So not only are you going to be paying lease payments for the next 2 years. Anyway, all right, I'm yammering on. I'm sorry, but it concerns me. that-
I agree.
It's
Yeah.
a big item.
Mhm.
It does contribute significantly to the savings too. I
Right.
say that by saying it's a big item, but.
But are we compounding it too much for future years, right? Like,
What portion of that is the lease? Because there's also different purchases of other equipment.
So the lease is about $89,000 of that. Then the other is
The savings?
the savings, yes.
So the savings due to the conversion from purchase to lease is 80-some thousand dollars.
Yes, yeah. 89,000.
Okay, and you've also deferred purchases of other equipment.
Yes, yeah.
If you can defer a purchase of a student
Yeah,
item,
Yeah.
yeah,
well, that's one thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're not really doing that.
Yeah.
do you
Do you want
want
me to
to make a motion on that?
Well, let's see, did you make a, what did you, have we made
No,
a motion
I'm
on
just
anything?
kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, I didn't know.
So we can obviously go back and have further conversations.
Yeah, I think that,
I think it is,
Karen,
look, I know that,
Yeah.
I know you know
Yeah, yeah.
what the result's gonna be, is struggling on line items, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
probably to think about it further, maybe, is that a fair statement?
Fair.
yes.
It's
Yeah.
probably no fair statements, when it comes to budgets.
So before I get to the next, I just want to remind the committee, oh, go ahead.
You want me to go?
Yep, you're good.
Gotcha.
You're good.
All right.
Of where the preliminary budget is, that we are at a 5.78% increase, which is an increase of $1.4 million over FY '26. So keep it going to the next slide. So in order to get to we've done a couple of scenarios where we've looked at what would it take to get to a 4.5% increase, and what would it take to get to a 3% increase. We've looked at our lines, we've really tried to sharpen our pencils, and really, in order to get to those, it will take staffing. It will take a reduction in staffing. So to get to a 4.5% increase, we would be looking at approximately 4 FTE positions. And then to get to a 3% increase, it would be the 4 that I just mentioned, plus another 4.2 FTEs. And that would bring us in at a 3%, which is the number that we've preliminarily heard from the town. That's where they want us to be. So that's in addition to the 500,000 in circuit breaker and the leasing of the devices.
I'm not going to speak for Chelsea, because I only have the one line item
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
talking about,
yeah.
but I'm certainly not suggesting,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
that we trade off
Yes.
that decision
Yeah.
by cutting FTEs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
and I don't think we're talking about that as far as the circuit breaker either.
And I would say, many of the line items where we're seeing the increases, or those major line items, are really contractual or legal. When we look at the special education and we look at the cost of living increases, so.
Understood?
Yeah. So that's, really where we are, and we're really trying to balance. I think if you go to the next slide, Keith,
Yep.
just again, a reminder, our tagline is educationally sound and fiscally responsible. And so how do we balance those two things? How do we make sure that programming that we're offering our students is educationally sound, but yet we're also being a fiscal steward of the funds of the town of Southborough.
I think we are in a really tough position, and I think, the conversation that we had about enrollment is a difficult conversation. I think anytime you talk about reductions, it's a difficult conversation. But if we're talking about an almost 6% increase, I also think that could be a really hard sell too. So I think we have a budget subcommittee meeting on Monday evening, where I think we should talk about more on that side with what the potential, what the impact would be on students related to a 4.5% increase. I think that's probably the next step that we need to take. And I think is that meeting on everyone's calendar, not just subcommittee, right?
You're posting for that, right?
I am.
Yeah.
Well, I hope.
Yeah.
15th.
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe it is a special.
for everyone, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
What time did you say again?
I think it's 7:15.
15.
Yeah. On the 15th.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Becky. You didn't need any actions from us. We just need to talk through it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Personnel report.
So in the packet, you can see that we do have 4 new appointments. 3 of them are new educational support professionals, and then one is actually an ESP who has moved into a long-term substitute position to cover a leave of absence for a teacher at Finn. And then I also want to point out that the resignation for Carol, she probably going to not say her last name correctly, at Woodward School. It's a resignation from this position, but she has moved to a new position at Lincoln Street School. She is going to be actually a clerical aide in the office there.
Oh,
So
good. Congratulations.
so we did keep her within the district.
Great, that's awesome. Great. Okay, so minutes. Does anybody have any comments on, oh, actually I do. On the November 12th, 2025, I think you had an updated set of minutes that was presented to you by me, Becky. Cheryl did it. So the addition that this had was we, on November 12th, if you remember, we went into executive to reconvene back into open to ratify the contract. So that was just an addition to show that we came back into open and took that vote and then adjourned. So that was the only change. And then anybody have any comments on the joint meeting from November 12th? Okay. The operational budget committee on November 17th. All right, and then the 2 executive session minutes, we are going to approve to retain, not to release. So I'm going to make 2 separate motions. I move that we approve the open meeting minutes of November 12th, 2025 as presented this evening. Approve the joint meeting of November 12th, 2025, and approve the operational budget subcommittee on November 17th, 2025. Is there a second? All in favor? And then I'm going to move that we approve to retain and not to release the executive session minutes of October 8th, 2025 and November 12th, 2025. Is there a second? All in favor? Thank you. And then agenda items for next month is listed here. And then if you have anything else, just shoot me a note. All right. And I'm not going to forget public comment this time. If anybody has any public comment, feel free to raise your hand. Anybody in the back? No? All right. So as I said, we have a meeting Monday evening for the budget subcommittee, and then our next regular meeting is January 14th.
So if I get an email from Becky that says, no one else knows this, but they've moved the date of the budget meeting from Monday to some other week, I won't believe it, by the way. Just because I think she might send me one only.
You think she would do that?
No, not at all.
All right, so I move we adjourn at 9:12. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, thank you, everyone.
Got a lot done. Got a lot done in this amount of time.
I thought it was going to be a lot shorter.
Really.